Okay, so to get started, we want to have all of our supplies here. So when you get your paracord kit, what it comes with it is a bundle of paracord, and there's 2 different colors, 5 feet of each, and the buckle. So that's what comes in the kit, plus a handout. Other things you might want to have is a pair of scissors, either a measuring tape like this or a ruler, some tape just to tape the bracelet down as you're kind of tying the knots, and also optional is a lighter, which I'll get into later. But if you do have a lighter, you will need an adult for this. So to get started, let's just talk a little bit about paracord. So it's actually short for parachute cord, and it's a type of nylon rope normally used in survival situations. So you'll see a lot of the time people using it in outdoors situations, survival situations, and it's used to make bracelets, keychains. You can even use it to make a hammock, and the main purpose is actually to store a bunch of paracord in a bracelet like this, so you have it ready to use. So their main purpose in survival situations is to be taken apart. So that's kind of what's nice about paracord. And that's why you'll see, so one bracelet like this, with which we're going to make today, can store 10 feet of paracord very easily. Instead of just having like this a bundle of loose paracord, you can have it stored into something that's easy to carry, like a bracelet. And the type of paracord we're going to be using is called 550 paracord. So the number in the different types of paracord you'll see refers to how many pounds it can hold up when it's used for survival situations and stuff like that. And the way it's made up, you'll see here, is there's an outer sheath that's woven, and then there's inner strands. Normally there's 7, but you can see that's what makes up its strength, is we have the outside plus the inside there. And so because of this, you'll notice that paracord tends to unravel if the ends are not melted. So here you can see this one unravels pretty easily, but this end is melted and it's not going to go anywhere. So that's why we have the lighter as optional, which will come in later once we finish the bracelet. Okay, so now let's get started with our bracelet. So like I mentioned, with the cord that's included in the kit here, you have 10 feet of paracord, which is 5 feet of each color. Normally the rule is that for 1 inch of bracelet, you need 1 foot of paracord. So say your wrist is 8 inches, you need 8 feet of each color, or 8 feet total. So that's why we have the measuring tape here. Like I said, I've included 10 feet total, 5 feet of each. So you'll have plenty of paracord to make a bracelet. Just to make sure everyone had enough, I included plenty, and you'll have some paracord left over you can play around with too, which I'll kind of show you later at the end here. So as you can see, we have the 2 colors here, and I have actually gone ahead and fused the 2 colors together. So this makes it easier when you're making your bracelet, and this way you guys don't have to worry about joining it. But basically it's just melting the 2 ends together to make them one cord together. And I've actually found you can also do this with 1 color. So you would have 10 feet of 1 color, but I found that using the 2 different colors is easier when you're first learning. So let's get started on this stuff out of the way. So first to start, we're just going to need our buckle and our paracord. So you want to unbuckle the buckle, and we're going to find the center of the paracord. So this will probably be pretty easy, since it's two separate pieces. So the middle is going to be around where I joined the two cords, and it doesn't need to be totally exact, but just the center. And you'll just kind of bring it along. We can see the ends are kind of even. So now we want to hold the loop that we made here. So now we're going to take one piece of the buckle, it doesn't matter which one, and you want to insert the loop into the buckle. So one thing to note here is, actually I'll buckle this back up. You can see the buckles that you have in the kit are kind of curved to make them easier to wear. So you can see it kind of makes a little arch. So when you're wearing it, it's a bit more comfortable. But we want to note, we want to put the loop down through the buckle. So you want to go in through the top basically. And we're just going to put the loop in there. Sometimes it can be hard because the paracord is kind of tough, but you should be able to get it in there with a little finagling. So now we have our loop and the ends on the other end. And you only want to pull it out just a few inches, or an inch or so. And now we're going to tie a cow hitch knot to make it secure on this buckle. So the easiest way that I like to do this is, so we have our loop here and our ends on the other end. So what you can do is have your loop facing up like this, and you just kind of put your hand through here, and you're going to grab the loose ends like this, and you just want to pull them all the way through. So you can see we have our loop and the ends, and then you just want to pull it tight, trying to keep the center a little bit, but it's not too important. And there we have our hitch, so it's nice and secure on this end of the buckle. And now we need to get the other side and thread our ends through that side to make it secure as well. So we want to grab our ends, and you kind of want to make sure they don't get all twisted around. But as you can see, my center, it's not very center, but that's okay. So we will grab, so you want to take the other side of the buckle, and just like before, you're going to put it in through the top. So where it curves down, that's kind of the top. So we just put both of the ends through there and pull it through. And you want to kind of pull it pretty close, because the length between the buckles is how long our bracelet is going to be. So you can pull it up like that. And then this is going to be our kind of working area. But the next thing we want to do is measure our wrist, just to make sure the bracelet fits. So one thing you can do is take a piece of paracord, or the end here, and you just want to wrap it around your wrist like this, just to see how the circumference of your wrist. So here, that's how wide my wrist is, so I'm just going to pinch it so that I know how long it needs to be. And then you can either take a ruler and measure out how long it needs to be, or you can just put it side by side. The important thing though is you do want to make it a little bit bigger than your exact wrist circumference, just to make sure that it's comfortable, because once we start tying the knots, it's going to bulk up a little bit. So we can see here, and it doesn't need to be exact. We're going to try the bracelet on before we finish, and if it's a little off, we can fix it later, which I'll show you. So we'll just say that that looks good. That's close enough. If you want to be more exact, you can, like I said, with the ruler. Generally, what the tutorials online say is you want to measure your wrist, measure that out, and then add an inch, just to make sure you have enough kind of space when you're done weaving the bracelet. Okay, so now we want to set this up to get ready to weave. So the way we want to set up is we want the buckle that we tied the knot on to be on the bottom here, and we're going to flip it like that. So hopefully you can see that whole thing. I'm going to kind of make it a little shorter so you can see. And so you want the end that we tied the knot on to be towards you, closest to you. And then at the top here, we're going to have, actually I'll flip this over. Okay, so now that we are getting all set up to tie the bracelet, you want to have the end which we tied the buckle on closest to you. And then it doesn't matter which side is up or down really on this knot, but you do want to have the other side up top here. And actually, so I said you might want some tape earlier, and that's because sometimes it can be nice to tape down the buckle when you're working with it, because it can make things more secure and stop it from wiggling around. And so at the top here, we want to have our ends that we're going to be working with, and one on each side. And then you want these to go over and on, coming out the back, kind of like that. That's the best way to be tying it. And you kind of want to make sure, I'm not being too careful with the length here, but you want to make sure it's not moving around. Okay, so now we are ready to start making the bracelet. So I'm gonna make sure everything's nice and secure. So the paracord bracelet that we're going to make today is sometimes called the cobra bracelet. So it's tied with cobra knots, or what they're more commonly known as square knots. And so it's just making a bunch of different square knots all the way down, and then that makes the bracelet. So I'm just going to show you how we're going to make these knots. Okay, so to get started, what we're going to do is take our left hand strand here, and with our end we're going to go under the two middle strands but over the other end, and you just want to kind of pull it through like that. And I usually you want to leave a little loop on the left hand side over here, so you can see it goes under the two middle strands and over the other end. And with our loop, and then we're going to take our right hand side strand and go over the center strands, but through or under the loop that we made. And then you just kind of want to pull everything through. Oops, got a little knot. You kind of want to pull everything through and just pull it tight up to the top. And as you're tying the knots, you want to make sure to have a kind of consistent tightness all the way down, because that helps it look nicer. And now we're going to make a right hand square knot. So one important thing to note is we're going to be working with the same color first every time. And this is kind of why it's helpful to have two different colors when you're first starting out, because it helps. Because before, our last knot, we started on the left hand side, but now we're going to start on the right hand side for the next knot. So we're going to take our right hand strand and go under the two middle strands but over the other end there. We're going to kind of pull it through and create a little loop here. And then we want to take our other end, which is our yellow color, and we're going to go over the two middle strands and through the loop there and pull everything through. And then you just want to pull it tight up top. And that is the second knot we made. So now, like I said before, we're going to work with the same color first. So we're starting on the left hand side now with our teal here. And we're going over, we're going under the two middle strands and then over the other end. So we're going to take our right hand cord and go over the two middle strands and through the loop there. Just kind of want to make sure everything doesn't get all twisted. And there we go. And you're just going to continue doing that all the way down the bracelet. So like I said, you always want to work with the same color the whole time. So that's what we're starting with. The same color goes under, then over. And then this one, the yellow, goes over and through the loop. Making sure everything doesn't get all twisted, and pull it tight. So I will come back once we're a little closer to being finished with the bracelet, and you just keep going all the way down with those square knots. Okay, so we are almost towards the end here, and now you can kind of see what it looks like once the bracelet is being worked up a little bit. So we want to go down pretty close to the end buckle here. So I'm just going to keep tying the knots all the way down. Now if you've noticed that your bracelet is not looking like this or looking a little different, or if it starts to twist, that could be a few things. So like I said, we're doing alternating square knots. So we're starting with the same color every time, but it alternates sides. So, but if you work from the same side the whole time, it'll actually start to spiral a little bit, which you'll be able to notice. But that could be one thing that might cause your bracelet to look different. So we're going to go over and through. And like I said, once you get the hang of it, it goes a lot quicker. But if the way I'm explaining it does not make sense, you can always look up on YouTube. There's plenty of other tutorials or different channels, some of which I've listed on the handout, that they might be able to make it easier for you to understand. Because sometimes just the way I'm thinking doesn't make as much sense to some people. So now that we're a little close to the end, I just wanted to take the tape off so it's easier to get under here. And we're gonna keep tying the knots, and like I said, you want to get pretty close to the buckle here. We'll just do probably a couple more. And probably one more. We'll do that. Okay. Oh, well, let's see, we'll try another one. I just like to get it pretty close, especially because the glue or the melted paracord is kind of showing through there, so I wanted to hide that. And pull it nice and tight. Yep, that looks good. Okay, so now that we're all done tying all the way down, you really want to make sure to try the bracelet on. Now I'm going to try it on, we'll see if it fits here. And you can see it is kind of cool, it's almost like reversible. But you've got the teal or your first color on the outside, and then the yellow is on the inside. We'll just try it on quick. Oh yeah, it fits. Nope, I think I put it on upside down though. Okay. Okay, so yeah, it looks like it'll fit. If you try your bracelet on now and it does not fit, what you can actually do is untie it and try it again, which I had to do plenty of times when I was first learning how to do these. But like I said, the great thing about paracord is that it's almost meant to be untied and tied again, so it's totally fine to do that. And you can even untie it and try it a different kind of knot tying if you wanted to. But now is the time to do that because, like I said, you should have plenty left over to kind of work with. Now the next thing we're going to do is just finish it off, and the way we can finish it is just by snipping the ends here. So you want to take your scissors, and we're going to want to cut it pretty close to the end here. You want to make sure it's tied nice and tight, and I'll probably just snip it there and there. And that is the bracelet pretty much. Now, as I mentioned before, the lighter is going to come into play here. So this is totally optional, but if you decide you want the ends to be fused, like these ends, so they don't fray, you will need to have a parent to assist you, or an adult. Because paracord is nylon, and it's got that outer sheath with the inner strands, it needs to be melted to stop from fraying. Now, to seal the ends, all you have to do is take like a lighter. You can also use a stick lighter with the longer neck, whatever is easiest for you. And all you do is just light the lighter, and then you hold the paracord next to it. You don't even have to put it in the flames, just to melt the ends. And you can kind of see there, it's melted, so it's not going to fray on us. And I'll try one more side. And you want to be really careful when you get your adults to do this. It does take a little practice. It can be a little scary, but all you have to do is hold it there for a little bit. You don't even want to melt it too much. You don't want to burn it. And like I said, you only put it next to the flame. And as I mentioned, just another disclaimer, if you want to do that, you really should get an adult. And so I showed that just to have the adults know kind of how to do it. But as you can see there, they're nice and solid now. They won't fray on us. And that is your bracelet. Now, you do have these ends left over. Some cool stuff you can do with these. I don't have time to do a tutorial on this, but you can actually make a bracelet out of just those single strands. So this is a slide knot bracelet. And there's a ton of tutorials online for this one too. I'll include, or actually I included a bunch of those YouTube channels on the handout, and they will have tutorials on this as well. But it's something cool to kind of use up the ends. And you can see there's a black one, and it's just a kind of friendship bracelet. So that's something you can do with the ends. Also, if you wanted to try something different, if you enjoyed this, you can always try it with different colors. Like this is a multicolored one. And there's also different kinds of knots, like I mentioned. So this is a fishtail knot. That's not too complicated, but it's just a different kind of style you can try if you like it. So like I said, if you liked making, the paracord bracelet and you like tying knots like that and want to learn more, you can always check out, there's a bunch of different books that I included on the handout that's included in the kit. And you can also look up different kinds of tutorials and different knot styles. And you can also, as you might have noticed, if you made friendship bracelets before in Girl Scouts, say, or something like that, this is very similar. It's kind of adjacent to friendship bracelets. And also what it's kind of like is macrame. So if you are kind of interested in that kind of stuff, practicing knots with paracord can really be a great thing to do and give you more different kinds of practice. And I think that's it. So thank you for watching. I'm going to include my email if you have any questions, and I'll see you next time.